You're selling your home, you've been waiting for the perfect offer, and it arrives. Your real estate agent presents you the offer submitted by a buyer, and you look at it and you don't like it. But you want them to buy it, you want to sell your home, so what do? Let's talk about it right after this. Negotiating is a funny thing. It sometimes is emotional. It has tons of variables that I could never even account for in this one video. But as a real estate agent for 11 years, there are a few key tactics that I use that come up time and time again that usually have a pretty good effect when you're working towards bringing two parties together over something as big as a home. The first tactic really isn't a tactic at all. It's just a way of life, which is communicate. Communication is so important to the negotiation process that it actually probably deserves its own video in and of itself. But communication between the seller and the listing agent is vital. And then listing agent to selling agent, which is what we call the agent representing the buyer, is equally as vital. The listing agent needs to know the priorities and wants of the seller, their client. They need to know that deep down and just know exactly what they are in order to best represent them. Because then the listing agent can go to the buyer's representative and communicate what it is exactly that's important to the seller. When this communication happens up front before an offer happens, usually that offer can be significantly better than it would otherwise if the buyer was just creating an offer based on the things that they want. Best offer from a buyer is when they incorporate things that the seller wants. Now, when that offer comes in that the seller has decided they don't really like, but they're willing to work with, communicating between the agents becomes imperative. Understanding what it is the seller wants, the listing agent can then communicate that to the other agent who's representing the buyer, and the process of editing that initial offer can start to take place based on what is actually important to the seller. Sometimes those phone calls are about the price, the offer price that the buyer put forth, and I might just even pick up the phone before I even talk to my seller and say, hey, this just isn't going to get it done. You got to do a little bit better. And that quick phone call, that quick communication, which is very simple, does wonders for getting the buyer to potentially move off of their position before we've even engaged with the seller about what this offer might be. Then during every negotiation, there's some impasse or tension. Sometimes the seller and buyer don't like each other, even though they don't even know each other. And communicating through that is vital. Emotions are running high with the seller, emotions are running high with the buyer, and the agents are in between. Not neutral parties, but we can have a neutral stance in that we are not emotional about this particular transaction. Being in that middle, unemotional space as a real estate agent is vital as we're trying to bridge these two parties together over something that they currently don't agree on. So communicating. You can't over-communicate in a situation like this. As long as the agent isn't revealing things about their client that they shouldn't be, over-communicating during this phase can actually be extremely helpful as you start to talk through all the differences between the two parties and the points within the offer that need to be amended. Point number 2 would be not too far from communicating, but it would be identifying within the buyer's offer what it is that's most important to them, giving them that thing, and then potentially removing all of the other points that aren't satisfactory to the seller. Maybe a buyer doesn't care as much about the price they pay, but they really need closing costs to help subsidize their loan. Well, that could be an easy thing for a seller to give as long as they can get the price that they're wanting. So knowing what it is about the offer that the buyer really needs to keep in there and removing everything else that the seller doesn't like can be one counteroffer strategy. Give them the one thing, but take away everything else. I like to coach my clients, and this is point number 3, about killing people with kindness. In some cases, representing a seller, we have multiple offers, and sometimes all of those offers are not very favorable or the seller just doesn't like all of the terms. Well, as a listing agent, if we have multiple people interested in the property, we can use all of their mutual interest against each other a little bit in order for everybody to better their offer just a little bit more and get closer to what it is the seller's expecting. This is really important. If you don't have multiple offers, you can still use the traffic through the property, calls that the agent has fielded about interest in the home, All of those things can be added up to communicate back to the buyer and to the buyer's agent that, hey, we have a lot of interest in this home. Even if we only have your one offer, we think we might get another offer here in a day or two, and we're not quite ready to come all the way towards your side of the offer table. And so you need to come a little bit our way if we're going to accept your offer right now. And then another strategy, and I'll just end it right here, would be simply saying, hey, thanks, but no thanks, and we're not going to respond to this offer. It's just not even close to where we are hoping to be, whether that's on price or terms, and usually it's always on price. And so you would just give them a little bit of radio silence, kindly say thank you, we're not going to accept this, we're choosing not to respond, and then just be quiet. Silence sometimes is the best negotiating strategy out there. Walkaway power, buyers can have walkaway power to negotiate a better deal. Sellers can have walkaway power, meaning we're going to pull away the thing that the buyer wants, which is the house, and say, hey, you can't have this. We're not responding to your offer. You can't have this house at this time. Thank you. And then see just how fast the buyer changes their tune and makes a better offer very quickly. I hope you found this helpful. For more tips and tricks on buying and selling real estate and everything in between, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would love it if you would.